car scam about to bust.
I can't help but be racist. It's true.
Might be too low right now, baby. Come on now.
How dare you?
You there, Ricardo? We're doing a show, baby. Come on now, where'd he go? Not getting good connection in Switzerland today. Oh, hello, fellas. My name is Freddie Pepperworth. What? Oh my God, I'm chewing gum, but now I'm done. You always start streaming, says Batrol, when I'm about to go to bed. That's not your fault. What if it was my fault? I'm in the middle of Europe. Good night, sir, and everyone. I'll watch the stream later. Batrol, thank you for being here, buddy. I appreciate you being part of our community. Yeah, you know, look, man, I have a fantasy one day that there will be a 24-hour channel of Gabbin Games. Not even fucking with you guys. That's like my fantasy, is that one day we can get the channel to be as successful as it can. He says as he's moving all kinds of shit around the screen. And that way I can afford to have a 24/7 channel where I have like 6 different people who come on, kind of like MTV was back in the day. I think that would be so fucking cool, man. But that's the long-term vision. I can't, I can't just snap my fingers. The first part of that plan is to bring in Ricardo. So we're working on that right now. Hello, Drive-By Joe. Drive-By Joe wants us all to know, I meant to tell you your volume's been low the last couple of streams. Really? Is it better now? I just turned it up. Thank you for that super chat, Drive-By Joe. After seeing that, I just turned it up. But is it any better? Godslayer says, Jaffe, I'm so happy to be in a live stream. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. JT Taylor says, Jaffe, look, man, if you did God of War, you can do anything. I don't really think you're wrong, honestly. I think, and I've talked about this before, that working on God of War absolutely taught me, just dropped my sticker, absolutely taught me about the power of tenacity and sticking with things. And yeah, man, I think we can get there. But, you know, it's going to take some time to figure out what people like, what they don't like. We're always noodling with the show. Speaking of the show, welcome to Gabbin Games. Listen, fellas, it's the most interactive and sexually charged video game talk show on the internet. That's the goddamn truth. I can promise you that. Look what we got going on. Let's talk about the news for today. Let's talk about what our schedule is. Happy Saturday, by the way. Okay, check it out. Check it out. I'm still learning. Fuck you. I'm learning the. Shut up. Wait a minute. God damn it. Okay. Where's. Hang on, please. For the love of God, where's the bar? Not that kind of bar. Oh my God. Did I just kill the bar? I literally just killed the bar. I'm an idiot. Hang on, fellas. Okay. There we go. Welcome. Stay tuned for today's topics. And then I turn that off. That should be somewhere else, I suppose. But that turns off the whole fucking bar. You know what, you guys? Hang on. Fuck you, Rapnos. Fuck you, motherfucker. Okay, this is a little ridiculous. Topic slider bar. Oh my God. Ravnos, go fuck yourself, bitch. Oh my God. Okay, hang on. Well, there's our news for the day. We got fast news coming up. Then we got the Game Awards. Did it get it? When did the Game Awards ever get it wrong? I'm not muting you. I didn't mute you. Ricardo says I'm talking, but I'm muted. You're not muted for me. I don't see a green thing around your face. Okay. When did the Game Awards get it wrong? We're going to look back over some of the biggest fails of the Game Awards and awards they gave out. See if you agree with me and some of the chat on what they did that, looking back now, seems a little silly. Xbox fans being paid by Microsoft. I mean, that's something we heard this week earlier from the original design director of World of Warcraft. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about games that Sony turned down and or canceled. These are games that range from things you've never heard of that were in production at first party all the way to games like Driver that were huge hits and ended up going somewhere else because idiots like me in this case said, yeah, this is never going to work. That's the truth. We'll talk about that, and then, of course, we'll do member QA. If you're watching the show and you want to guarantee you can be heard, either get your ducats ready for a super chat or make sure that you are a member. Now, I will tell you, of course, during the show, I'll take your chats and comments, as I always do, but that'll be the part of the show towards the end where we can talk about whatever the fuck we want. Listen, Ricardo, Ricardo is our producer. He's in the room. Yeah, Ravnos, fuck you. Absolutely. Ravnos says, I got in trouble. My wife heard you cussing at me and said, why are you so mean to him? She wants to have sex with me. This is what I think. Listen, put her on the fucking phone. I want to talk to her. I don't know why she stays with you, Ravnos. I don't know why she stays with you. I mean, can you imagine being married to that man? What? I mean, it's literally, he complains about everything, right? So think about this for a minute. She's like having sex with him. And it's probably the best sex he's ever had because it's probably the only sex he's ever had. And then suddenly he's like, oh, your hip move wrong. And now it doesn't feel as good. Fuck you. She needs to kick your ass out. Kick your ass out. That's what she needs to do. Imagine being married to P. Turtle. God, can you imagine? Okay. Listen. Yeah, Ricardo, I want to make this work though. Ricardo, I'm going to go into the call-in show waiting room. Put yourself in there. Let's see. Is that better? Ricardo, can you hear me? Yeah, I don't know what the fuck. Well, I don't know, man. That is unusual because usually you have a little green circle around your character when you're talking, but I don't see any green circles, so there's not really much I can do. Very strange, sir. Maybe you need to reboot or something, but you're absolutely not muted. Oh, there you go. What was it? What happened? Ricardo, I heard you for a minute. All right, well, we're moving on. Yeah, what's going on? What's happening?
It's the fucking headset. I had to remove it.
Okay, great. Nobody cares. Listen, Ricardo, let's get started with the news. What do you think, pal? Yeah, we can't hear him. All right. Well, there's a delay. Yeah, there's a delay. I'm going to start the show. If you can get it fixed, though, that'd be great. All right, here we go. Let's kick off.
Yeah.
Let's kick off.
Kick it off.
Okay, we're going to kick off the news. All right, here we go. Bum. And again, I don't have the music playing, so I have to sing you the song. Hey, it's the lady and her husband, and she's old, and he's reading the news. He's like, oh, my God, I love you. I hate you. I'm going to kill you. You need to die. I'll kill you tonight in your sleep. It's the breaking news part of the show. All right, there we go, fellas. It is time for breaking news. There's a little Bubba Jaffe. Let's talk about some video game news, as we are wont to do here. I'll tell you what, I'm excited about this game, Slitrrerhead, and I want to show you, if you don't know Slitrrerhead is the horror game coming from the guy who was the creator, one of the key creators of Silent Hill. Also, he and his team that broke off from Sony Interactive worked on Gravity Rush, and they also worked on Siren. The main guy who's running the joint, here he is right here, Toyoma. And he's got a couple other fellows with him. What's up, Ricardo?
Can you hear me?
Oh my God, I'm hanging up on you, Ricardo. This is horrible. It's horrible. I am going to mute you now. Ricardo, I love you with all my heart and soul, buddy, but that's disastrous. We got to figure that out later. But I'll be I can see you in the Skype though. All right, so Slitterhead, they're making this Slitrrerhead game. They broke off from Sony when all the collapse of Sony Japan, and they founded their own new company here. And they have a great website, and they just put out a video showing really the most detailed gameplay we've gotten of Slitterrerhead, which is it's not a PlayStation exclusive. They say they want it to be on a great many platforms, so it's probably going to obviously be on PS5 and Xbox. But let's just watch a little bit of this. We'll talk about it as we watch it. I just pulled just the gameplay footage. Addy Pie says it looks like shit. I don't know what you're fucking talking about. If you watch the documentary or watch this particular video and you hear them talking about this, they actually say there's a lot of really unique mechanics. They don't go into a lot of details right now, but there's a lot of unique mechanics to it, and they're talking about in this particular video the focus testing of the game, and they're saying that the new mechanics are what the new players are really kind of gravitating towards. So they started with the HUD. I don't know what I'm really looking at. This is clearly the health bar here. I don't know if this is like magic and these are attacks. This almost feels like an audio file, wave file thing, and I don't know what this is, right? But we're getting a little bit of hint. It is a third-person game, not a first-person game. It clearly, now this is early footage, I'm assuming. Well, this we know is early footage, but it clearly has seemingly a more in-depth combat system than something like Silent Hill, for sure. It's kind of cool. He can heal himself, it looks like, at any time by pulling some kind of energy from, I don't know where he pulls it from. You can see he's got a shotgun and a melee weapon, so it's going to be ranged and close attack. That's kind of cool. I don't know why, if you look at this little thing, maybe that's a radar, but it's starting to glow a little bit. That's probably a radar down there, the bottom left. So he's fighting this guy, kind of looks like Jar Jar Binks. This is a lady fighting this. The monsters look kind of generic. I'm kind of tired of this Starship Trooper. Even Capcom, I loved Resident Evil 4, and I loved all the Resident Evils, but I'm really tired of the Japanese sensibility of making horror monsters. It's just, I liked when, even though I haven't played it, I heard it wasn't great, I liked when Callisto Protocol, they were talking about how they took human shapes and distorted them a little bit to create something that was more terrifying and something that was more relatable. A lot of the Japanese monsters just tend to be like, let's take a bug and put a fucking head on it, and it's just whatever. But it is what it is. Apparently you can control this thing, which looks like a dog. It's like the badass version of Stray. And again, they're saying that there are a lot of unique mechanics. The people who are playtesting the game like it. This is as much as we've seen from the game. So it's nice to see it's going to be a third person, a little bit more action. I think people who were expecting more like a Silent Hill 2, even though that does have combat, this starts to feel a little bit more like Evil Within or Resident Evil than something that's a little bit more slow-paced. I don't know. Maybe they're just like, look, we got to make money. And the slow-paced stuff is great, but it's kind of like Team Bloober. Team Bloober has bigger problems than these guys, but Team Bloober's saying, oh, we're going to walk away from the psychological horror and just go to more action horror as well. So it is what it is. Slitterhead, is going to be coming out. They haven't actually announced it, but when it's coming out, I think it's next year. And this is obviously, some of this is very early footage, and this is footage directly from playtests. So a lot of times when you're doing playtests, you're showing, even though the game is much further along, it might be like, okay, we're going to show the combat in the combat room, which doesn't have any art and stuff. So I wouldn't look at this as indicative of like, oh my God, they don't even have the art yet or anything like that. Graphics in combat are not good, says Kurosawa. Well, I don't think you can really say that about either. I mean, the graphics are early, and are you really going to judge the graphics based on this? If you're just listening to the show, it's a typical developer checkerbox room, and even the stuff where they show you some more environment stuff, it is still clearly, it says like early development. I mean, this looks like almost like a Sega Dreamcast game. So I don't think we can judge that yet. The combat, though, I mean, it doesn't look amazing, but what do you want? I wouldn't want to play a horror game with Devil May Cry combat. So I'm not quite sure what you mean when you say it doesn't look all that good. Man Cave, I'll get to that in a little bit. It is pre-alpha footage, Ravnos, absolutely. Addy Pie says there's no thought process behind the monster designs that he's seeing here. It's just random crap. I mean, come on now. I don't know if you can say that. I mean, I'm not saying I like them. I'm just saying that I don't know if there's no thought. The Suffering was great. Third-person action horror, says Jeeves. It was really, really good. Space Denizen and me are in simpatico, as the kids like to say. This looks pretty fucking fun. The developers have earned, these particular developers have earned my trust, my faith, so I'm there. I'm there day one, unless it just ultimately looks like it shits the bed. Ricardo, can we hear you now? Are you talking now? Is everything back to normal?
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear
good?
you. All right, all good. Thank you, sir.
Hey, guys.
All
What's
right.
up?
So here's another game we finally got a little bit of news on this week. Hey, the screen is wrong. God damn it. Okay, hang on. This is our first time doing it. It's our first time doing it. Don't be mad. Don't be upset. There we go. God damn it, man. Get back over there. Okay. Raveno says, yeah, this is full-on placeholder, non-polished stuff. It will change massively, of course. Okay. So Pokemon Sleep, hello, Fred. I am not a Pokemon guy. I am absolutely not a Pokemon guy. I was a little too old for it. Never really got its claws in me, blah, blah, blah. In fact, I will tell you a story. There was a girl I liked, a woman I liked, and we went to Comic-Con together, and she came and picked me up at Bartlett Jones, where I was working downtown, which is only a couple of blocks from where Comic-Con is. And she comes in dressed all sexy and shit. She's wearing like super short shorts and a super tight yellow tank top and some red suspenders. And I don't know who the fuck she is. I mean, I know who she is because she was, somebody I was going with to the show. But she's like, oh, I'm Misty from Pokemon. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck that is. She was 28, right? And I was like 48. So, whatever. I'll tell you something, though. I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm not even fucking with you. I'll tell you a little story. Ricardo, should I tell this weird dinner story I had with this woman, or should we get on to Pokemon? You tell me. You're the producer, sir.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
Ricardo? I like how Ricardo thinks it's working. It's not working. Ricardo, nobody can hear you. Ridiculous. Okay, well, we'll go to Pokemon. You guys don't want to hear about the Misty story, I suppose. That's fine. So the only reason Pokemon Sleep interests me is that I've gotten a CPAP machine for my sleep apnea. God, I'm old. Recently. And boy, it has been great. It lets me sleep through the night. I dream like a motherfucker last night. And the dreams are so vivid and so much fun. I'm having so much fun dreaming. I dreamt last night that there was an earthquake and we were in the Rocks Mansion in Malibu and this big tsunami was coming towards us. I had my daughter with me. And somehow I was able to acquire this hook from Aquaman, and I was able to kind of swing around and get me and my kid out of there. It was awesome. The point is I'm enjoying sleep a lot more, right? So Pokemon Sleep, they revealed a little bit more details about what this is. It is an app on your phone or iPad. It comes out this month. I will be getting it. I'm very curious about this. And my understanding is every week, the better you sleep, you don't do anything. You just download it. And it's about going to bed on time, which I love. If you set your time for bed and you actually go to sleep at that time, it's bonus. And if you don't toss and turn and wake up and stuff in your sleep, you do well. That's how you do well at the game. And you have this kind of character that sort of looks like Totoro. And if you sleep well, he gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And at the end of the week, you say goodbye to him and you get a new one. But also, depending on how well you sleep, not only does he get bigger and you get awards and badges and shit like that, but these little cute, little friendly Pokemon show up and they start taking a nap with you. So you never know what little Pokemon are going to be with you when you wake up that you've been able to collect. It depends on how well you're sleeping. Come on, man. That's pretty good. That's coming out this June. You goddamn right. I'm going to try it. Yeah, Ricardo, it says you're muted, so I don't know, man.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. All right. It wasn't working. What do you think about this Pokemon? What do you mean get to the good games, Addy Pie? This is like, Bookster says this sounds horrible. What is wrong with you? Don't you just like things that are interesting? Are you guys so AAA? I'm watching this guy. I'm watching this. Well, what I was asking you, Ricardo, is should I tell about the Misty story? But I'm watching this guy on YouTube, and he says you should niche down your channel. You should be very specific with your channel. And I'm like, okay, well, that's good advice. And I'm like, this just proves it. I can't talk about any video games with some of you jagoffs unless they're like $200 million joints from fucking Sony. I just do that. God damn it. Dustin Hadid, he knows what I'm talking about. Thank you for the super chat. Wait a minute. Ricardo, I should continue that story about the girl. And yep.
I want to hear it.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Is it interesting?
I don't know if it's interesting. It's kind of frustrating. So I go to dinner with her one night. We're going to this Mexican restaurant. And she's so fucking smart. I rarely meet people that I go, wow, they're way smarter than me. She's fucking smart, which I think is the coolest thing. And we're sitting there at dinner, eating the foodstuffs, and I'm just like, okay, there's this connection, there's this vibe.
Of course, you're a genius.
Well, I was tested. That's what they said. And I'm just like, okay, I don't really understand this because she's not making a move. She's not really, I don't know if I should make a move. And I didn't do one because I'm older than she is. And I was just like, that might be creepy. I'm going to make it where she lets me know if she's interested. But it felt like, I was crazy chemical vibe. And then I get in the cab or the Uber on the way home and I text her and I says to her, I really should have kissed you. Rob said he was there. Yeah. And she's like, oh, I kind of, sort of, but not really. I wasn't feeling it. And I'm like, oh my God, how is that? And I'm glad I didn't. She's still a buddy of mine, but I'm like, how in the fuck can you have that much of a vibe? You ever had that, Ricardo? You had a vibe with a lady that's so strong and she feels none of it back. Not like lust. I don't mean lust or infatuation. Like you're sitting there at dinner and you're like, holy shit, you could cut the tension with the knife. But she's like, it feels like Tuesday to me. Is that just me? Or have you had that?
Nope. They always wanted.
Fuck you, Ricardo. That is not true. I've seen you. That is
It's
not.
true.
Shut the fuck. Okay, then you probably just married the first woman who fucked you and you haven't had anybody else. You're telling me every woman you've ever been interested in has immediately been interested in you. That's the story and you're sticking to that.
No. But to the point of going out to dinner with them, yeah.
I hate you.
We're just normal men, just
Okay.
innocent men.
Let's move on then. I don't want
Let's
to.
put it this way.
Yeah.
I've dated every woman I've had dinner with alone. Yeah.
Yeah, let's put it that way because that made a lot of sense. I know English is your second language, but holy shit, Ricardo, you just like butchered. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, Ricardo, let's
I've
move on.
dated every woman I had dinner with.
You've dated
alone with her.
Okay, again, you're moving these words around like they're interchangeable. They go in a certain order for a reason. I've dated every woman I've been with dinner. What? Let's move on. Jeez, yeah, and Dusty says escorts don't count, Ricardo. So, sorry, pal.
What do you mean they don't count?
They don't count.
That's a huge bitch.
Listen, let's move on. I do want to tell you that tomorrow, and I will be Bill Bone says Ricardo's on borrowed time. That's right. Listen, tomorrow I will be on the Leadus podcast at 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 a.m. my time. This is the one of our sponsors, one of our great sponsors. They do video game trivia. I will be going on with a member of Gabbin Games who won our own contest here. And we will either be competing against each other in video game trivia or we will be working together as a team. I don't know yet. That will be live streamed, though, on this channel tomorrow. So give it a listen if you're interested. Okay, moving on. Little Jason Schreier. Let me ask you guys a question. You guys know we're about to get to the big news, but let me ask you this. You guys know all about... you guys you guys know all about Schreier blocking everybody under the fucking sun, right? Well, listen to this.
I hate him.
You hate him. Wow, you're being corrupted by me, Ricardo. I usually, I'm the one who just puts it all out there.
No, he blocked me, a fellow journalist, because I liked the comment you made.
Okay, well, listen to this. Now he's on Threads.
So fuck him.
Now he's on Threads, though. I can follow him again. I mean, I imagine, because he's just like, hey, he's not blocked everybody yet. If I could fucking follow Schreier on Threads, I can't imagine I won't get banned by him or blocked by him in 5 seconds. I just can't imagine I won't get banned by him. But, I mean, yeah, he is a fellow journalist. Look, I mean, that's a tough thing, though. Because the internet, I get it. I get it. If, let's say he's sensitive. Let's say little Jason that's sensitive. He doesn't have any problem going on podcasts like Min Max and, calling me out for whatever weird reason. But that aside, let's say he's sensitive. And his wife says, or whatever, I don't fucking know. His wife says, hey, man, why don't you just block any, you're a good journalist. You don't need all this shit. Why would you let that in your life? And, maybe he's like worried about his mental health. I can appreciate that. But I don't know, man. He doesn't seem like a pal. He seems like a bit of an asshole. Kyler in the chat says, I think Jason seems like a cool guy for getting sources correct. Yeah. I mean, I'm not, he's fine.
He seems like a good journalist.
Within context. He's no Bernstein and Woodward and Bernstein. That's the one thing that really pisses me off about him is just because he actually does the bare minimum of what somebody at journalist school would think a journalist actually does. People are like lauding him like, oh my God, he's really? Because he just, does the job that all these other fucking game journalists should be doing. It's not a very high bar, folks. That's all I'm saying. Maybe he blocks his enemies so they don't make free content off his back. Too bad, bitch. Too bad, bitch. I'm here. His Final Fantasy 16 review, Jason Schreier's, Bill Bone says, was kind of schlocky. What do you mean? Bookster, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says Schreier probably uses a bot to block people. How would he know that, though? I mean, how would the bot know who to block? Who to block? All right, well, let's move on. That's the baby news. Let's get to the real fucking adult, grown-up, big boy news. Let's talk about the Game Awards. I like the Game Awards. As a piece of production, I've told that to Keeley several times. I tend to think giving creative awards awards to creative work is ridiculous, but it is what it is. A lot of people love it. I enjoy getting involved in the drama of it. But here's one of the reasons I don't really care for it very much is you really need to have time past when an award is given or when a game is released before you award it. And I understand that's not what this is about. This is marketing and this is sales. So the last thing Keeley wants to do is be like, the Game Awards 2025 is going to be celebrating the games of 2015. Because now that we have the lens of history and perspective, we can actually give it to the game that really influenced the world the most. That's not going to sell many copies of a 10-year-old game, right? So I get why they do what they do. Don't fucking tell me no one Addy Pie says, Jaffe, no one cares about these fake-ass awards. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they fucking do. You know how I know? Because if you look at the Game Awards ratings, it started with 1.9 million people concurrently streaming it. Now it's at over 100 million in about 12 years. Trust me. People care. People fucking care. Okay, so let's look at this for a minute. It's not canceled this year now. Game Awards in 2014. Now this one's not too controversial, but it's here were the games that were up for best game of the year. Oh, I got to move the little Jaffe guy. Hang on. Hey, there we go. Dragon Age was up, Bayonetta 2, Dark Souls 2, Hearthstone, Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor. What won it was Dragon Age Inquisition. I think that's a little weird. I enjoyed Dragon Age Inquisition. It was a really good game. It was no Hearthstone. Hearthstone changed the fucking game. Hearthstone really, is still going strong. Nobody's talking about Dragon Age Inquisition. That was also the year, by the way, that Destiny came out. The Wolf Among Us came out. That was the year
Alien Isolation too.
Alien Isolation came out that year. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that strange? Man Cave says more like AAA Game of the Year. Yeah, it may. I mean, there's certainly something to that, I think. Titanfall came out that year. You're telling me that the game that influenced the world the most was the goddamn... I mean, you don't even have Alien Isolation or Titanfall nominated. But let's move on. So that was 2014. That one's not so crazy. It's a little crazy. It's not so crazy. But look at this. I mean, you even had
I'm
Shovel.
actually a big fan of Dragon Age.
I know a lot of people are. I'm not saying it's a piece of shit game. 2015.
Hearthstone should have that one.
This is what you had in 2015. You had a lot of things, but you had The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt, Bloodborne. You had Super Mario Maker, Life is Strange, Her Story, Soma, Mortal Kombat 10. What were some of the big games? Ori and the Blind Forest. You had The Order. Yeah. Let's see. You had Resident Evil 2 Revelations. Okay, I get why that wasn't. But here's what was nominated. Here's what was nominated during Cities, Skylines came out. Here's what the Game Awards thought they wanted to say were the best games. Super Mario Maker, Metal Gear Solid 5, come on. Fallout 4, Bloodborne, and The Witcher 3. The game of the year that year was not Bloodborne, was not Fallout 4, it was The Witcher 3. Okay, I mean, that's kind of fair. That's sort of fair. Sort of.
Damn right it is.
Oh, well, okay, but wait a minute, though, because look at some of the other games that came out that year, right? You had Rocket League, which became a huge phenomenon in the esport and multiplayer world. You had Life is Strange, which was for a certain generation of gamer was sort of going to be a very big nostalgic touchstone.
I love it.
For these guys. You had Her Story from Sam Barlow, which really no one has made a game like that before. I'm not saying they should have won, but do you really want to give these slots to, Metal Gear 5 and the winner to Witcher 3? It's a little weird. Life, okay, Addy Pie says... They're not...
Sorry, but they are better.
Witcher 3 is better than Bloodborne. Witcher 3 is better than Fallout 4.
Yes.
Come on
Yes.
now. Come on now.
Yes?
Listen, Addy Pie being an asshole, he's just contrarian Mary, says nothing. What did he say? He said, Life is Strange is cringe as hell. If you're a grown adult, a lot of teens and tweens fucking love that fucking game. It spoke to them, right? But God forbid we would know that, because anybody who nominates and talks about games can only talk about the shit that IGN tells you to care about. Andrew, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He dropped some ducats. He says, Jaffe, I'm new to your channel. Great content. Thank you, bud. I appreciate that. Let me ask you a question, Andrew. He's like, don't phrase it that way, Jaffe. I didn't ask you a question. I gave you money and told you something. I know, but let me ask you a question. I'm always fascinated when people say they're new to the channel. How did you find us? What do you mean you're new? Like you're just surfing the internet looking up, cats and shit, and you're like, hey, what's this guy? What is it that made you click? That's what I'd like to know so we can continue to...
That looks funny.
Me? Fuck you. It was a cartoon of me. All right, let's look at this one. Fellas. This is a little bit more controversial. This is Game Awards 2020, okay? Now, in 2020, you had a lot of banger fucking games, and we're going to get 2018 in just a second. You had Last of Us Part 2, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Miles Morales Spider-Man, Half-Life Alyx, Cyberpunk, which, okay, Ghost Tsushima, Yakuza Like a Dragon, Fall Guys, Resident Evil 3 Remake, Demon Souls Remake. If Found was brilliant, but I know very few people played it. You had Crash 4, which was brilliant. Monster Train, that was brilliant. Let me tell you what they nominated. They saw fit to say this. In 2020, they said Hades, Ghost Tsushima, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Doom Eternal, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and The Last of Us Part 2. I mean, I don't know. Look, here's what I'll say. Ghost Tsushima, one of my favorite games of all time. It did not need to be up for Game of the Year. Hades, excellent fucking game. It did not need to be up for Game of the Year. As much as, and frankly, Final Fantasy VII Remake, I mean, if you're going to say remakes are okay, then you better fucking be putting Resident Evil 2 and 3 and 4 in there, which they don't. But listen to this. So Half-Life Alyx, even though I did... And Demon Souls, right, come on. And that was that year as well. Half-Life Alyx, which I did not love, but I appreciate what it did for virtual reality. You know the reason that probably didn't get Game of the Year nominations? Because most people didn't fucking play it. That's the goddamn truth. It's the goddamn fucking truth.
Of course.
That's not fair. It's not fucking fair.
It's the way this works.
I don't like it. People should boycott, not Keely.
Most magazines, they have their journalists voting. And they vote on the games they played, and they played only.
But how is that? Then how can anyone take any of this shit serious? Do you think Addy Pie's...
I'm not saying it's fair. I'm just saying how it works.
Okay, let's talk about this one. Now, this is the year I think there's going to be some fighting words. This is Video Games 2019. Okay, the Game Awards 2019. This is a pretty interesting one because you had a lot of fucking games in 2019 that. You had Sekiro, you had Resident Evil 2 Remake, you had Control, Apex Legends, Outer Wilds, Luigi's Mansion 3, which I get is not Game of the Year, but it's fucking brilliant. Mortal Kombat 11, Disco Elysium, come on now. Death Stranding, Baba Is You.
Jedi Fallen Order.
That's not really a Game of the Year contender, I don't think.
Yeah, it isn't.
You had a couple other ones as well that were pretty big. Listen to what they nominated. In 2019. Okay? Here we go. Game Awards 2019 decided that the best Game of the Years would be Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. That seems fair. Resident Evil 2 Remake. That seems fair. Outer Worlds. That seems fair. Death Stranding, that seems fair. Control, that seems fair. Guess who won? Fucking Sekiro.
Of course.
No, I mean, of course. What do you mean, of course? Smash Brothers was a phenomenon.
Have you played Sekiro?
It doesn't matter if I... No, I have not played it.
Have you played Sekiro?
I have not played Sekiro, no. But I have played, and here's the reason I don't have to have played Sekiro to know... that I'm correct. Ricardo, would you like to know the reason?
Sure.
Okay. I don't care.
I would love to know why you're wrong.
Okay. I don't care if Sekiro is a great game. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it fucking is. But through the lens of history, I can look and go, what are the games that really have stood the test of time that are still going strong or move the medium forward? To not talk about Outer Worlds, even Death Stranding, which I didn't like enough, I could get it. Smash Bros. And Resident Evil 2 Remake, I mean, all of those have been much more impactful on the industry, don't you think?
I mean, I think it's debatable.
It's debatable.
Yeah. Death Stranding, it's a flop. Sales-wise.
Knife my legs and kick you both with my foot bone.
Right?
No, nothing. I didn't say anything. Death Stranding didn't sell as well. No, but I mean, you know. Okay,
Resident Evil is a remake?
Yeah, but it's a totally different game. They could have called it something else and it wouldn't have gotten the... What they did with Resident Evil, though, is they said, hey, look, we can take these old games...
Oh, come on. A lot of it's a great game, but it's also Resident Evil.
It's totally different, though. It's a Max in the chat is saying it's a remake. It's a remake. Come on. It's a You've basically taken the perspective, totally changed it, changed a bunch of the fucking mechanics. To say that it's just like a remake, come on now. And I agree with Calpy. Calpy says Smash is the best-selling fighting game in history, highest-rated game, industry-defining. Come on now.
Yeah, so on Smash I hate Smash, so...
I appreciate it. I appreciate a lot. But what about Disco Elysium? People are still talking about the fact that Disco Elysium wasn't nominated. I'm just saying this bothers me a little bit. A lot of it.
Read the book, man.
Listen, I'm an American. Okay, we hire people to read books for us, then they make movies out of them, and then we
But
sometimes
that's why I
watch them.
didn't play this quill.
I
this
hear,
year.
yes, I didn't play it either, but everybody says it's fucking amazing. Why is that not up there? Come on. It's just dumb. It's just dumb.
No, but
Bookster
this-
says
this
Gears
just-
5. Thank you for
But
the super
Sekiro
chat.
won, right?
Sekiro won. There was not justice in the universe.
From
that evening.
Activision.
From Activision. Yes, correct.
So would Sekiro become an Xbox game?
Yes. Well, I don't know who owns the rights. Is it from?
I think it's Activision.
Well, then yeah, I guess it would be on Game Pass. Then I'd like it, of course. Okay, listen, Bookster, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says Gears 5 deserved a nomination at least. Haven't played Gears 5, so I can't speak to that. Game of the Year 2016, says Ron. Man Cave, thank you, buddy. Was Overwatch, not Uncharted 4. Opinion. Well, I don't think either one of them should have won. Here's what we had that year. Overwatch, Titanfall 2, which to this day is the best first-person campaign, single-player campaign ever. Dark Souls 3, Doom 2016, Inside, Firewatch, Uncharted 4, Stardew Valley. What else did we have? XCOM 2. I'm looking at the list, fellas. I don't know how many times they're going to release The Witcher 3 with different versions. I don't know when that one, the official one. Those are some pretty big games. This is the last one we'll do unless somebody's like dying to know a certain year. Let's look at the Game Awards 2016. I just want to see what they gave it to. The Game Awards, and then we'll move on, I promise.
I actually think 2018 was perhaps the biggest close
Snub.
call.
Okay, well, hang on. So, Game of the Year 2016, like Man Cave says, was Overwatch. It was up against Doom, Inside, Titanfall 2, Uncharted 4. There was no Firewatch in there, and there were a couple of the other ones that we just read that were not in there either, which seems odd to me. Stardew Valley was not in there. What year did you say, Ricardo?
2018.
2018
Red
was...
Dead 2, God of War.
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
come on. Yeah, come on. No, that was bullshit. 2018. Let's go to 2018. Check it out. I don't think Uncharted 2 is that great of a game. I really don't. I think it's an incredibly made game, but I don't think it's a great game. Red Dead 2 was up. Monster Hunter World was up. Spider-Man was up. Celeste was up. Odyssey was up. God of War was up. God of War 1. I can't really... I mean, I loved God of War, the 2018 God of War. I didn't think it was better than... or as influential as what people say Red Dead Redemption 2 was. But I don't know. I haven't played it. Did you? I mean, Detroit Become Human, which I played. There were some really interesting things in there. You think that would have been up there. But let me ask you this. Do you think, Ricardo, 2018 was deserved for God of War? Or looking back now, would you say that should have been Red Dead or that should have been Celeste?
For me, it was either God of War or Red Dead. I think Red Dead does more different things.
Okay.
But as an overall package, I think God of War ended up being the best game of the two.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's never gonna be what everybody wants. I think what it is, Ricardo and
Red
chat.
Dead can get very slow. Really
Yeah.
slow. sometimes.
I think what it is maybe I need to find an award show that really does feel like again, not the production of it. I've said to Keely's face, the production of his show gets better every year. I enjoy watching it. I enjoy watching it with the show. But I need to, if we're really going to celebrate.
Find one. Let's make it.
No, nobody, I get really bothered when I play these amazing games that aren't trumpeted by these massive studios, and a lot of these people that are supposed to be the arbiters of taste just ignore them and shit on them, and oh yeah, we'll give you a little best indie award. I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like Return of the Obra Dinn didn't win Game of the Year. That was one of the most interesting video games in the last 10 years ever made. In the last 10 years. But I worked for this company. Never played it, like you said. I don't know. Seems weird to me, man. Seems weird. Look, here's what I'll say. This is the last thing I'll say about it. If you're going to say that video games are not like movies and TV in that, there's a million reasons and they're long. We love them long. We love them. We like that our games are 20 hours, 30, 80, 150 plus hours, whatever. Then, maybe if you're going to actually have an award ceremony you take serious and it's not just fanboy infighting, which is probably what most of it is, then you need to say, you know what? We need to deal with sort of a longer barometer or a longer measure of time between award shows. Because the fact that you're asking people to vote on games they clearly haven't played is horseshit. Samian says it's almost like the people who are tastemakers are hamstrung by financial gain from studios buying positive press. I know. There's nothing pure about any of it. I mean, it's even in the movies and the Oscars. The Oscars is all marketing. It just bugs me. I'm a purist, fellas. I'm a purist. What can I say? I totally have this little dude wrong, Ricardo. He was supposed to be on Game Awards. He was on Member QA. I'm going to have to give you control of this guy. Xbox fans paid by Microsoft. Let's move on, shall we? We talked about this on the pre-show the other day. Or yesterday, actually. Hang on. Let me go to the chat first, though. Let me go to the chat first about the Game Awards, and we'll move on. Isn't the game show political? I would assume the award goes to whoever pays the most money. I don't think that's the political part. I have no reason not to trust Keeley when he says that, they have a lot of people who vote on it, and he doesn't vote on any of them, and they're from all kinds of different disciplines and all that. I don't think it's political in that way. I don't think like Sony writes a check and suddenly their games win. I think it's more political in that the people who cover things, and thus those are the things they know about to vote on, are not making those choices as pure as possible or even close to as pure as possible because they're going to cover the things that are going to get them clicks. They're not going to review something like Severed Steel, as great as that game may be, because it's like, well, it's not going to get us clicks. Let's review the latest Monster Hunter expansion, which I'm not knocking Monster Hunter. I know people love it. But I'm just saying the very nature of what they can cover is political, either business political or political like, yeah, I'll cover that because I want a job there. Or I want to be in the good grace of the developer. Arathel, you're just wrong. You're not even listening. I hope you're not talking to me. He says in the chat, he says, stop it. It is hundreds of individuals with their own motives and opinions, which, as I just said, there isn't a purity test. I understand, Arathizel, but you're missing the point. The point is not that these people are out and out lying. The point is that these people are playing the things that make sense to play in the course of their job, be that because it's political or business. It's not pure because they're not exposed to
100%.
these other games. And don't fucking tell me they all play indies. Ricardo has been a journalist for 20 years. And he just said...
You talked about Disco Elysium, right?
Disco Elysium, yeah.
One person... From a team of 10, one person played Disco Elysium. It's time to vote for the Games Awards. Disco Elysium will get one vote from the person who reviewed it. God of War, which most people played, gets 9 votes. That's how it works.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So, all right.
Yeah, it is.
Speaking of politics and payments, though, let's go to Xbox fans being paid by Microsoft. So this came out from the lead designer of the original the original World of Warcraft. And he tweeted this. He says, a lot of Xbox fans are paid firms or bots, Rabid fan run or Microsoft run. This is standard practice now in corporate warfare. It's going to get far worse with AI. And I almost wasn't going to cover this because I'm like, my understanding, and we talked about this the other day, is that, you know, a while back, Microsoft got in trouble and the FTC came in and said, look, you know, there are these rules in place and you're not going to go to jail, but you are going to get a pretty hefty fine slammed at your company if you are found to be promoting, and this isn't the terms of service of YouTube we're talking about. We're talking about the actual companies themselves that make the content. If you are found to be promoting a product and you aren't disclosing that this is a commercial or that you're a paid person, then you're going to get hit with one of these FTC fines. So I'm kind of fascinated that this guy, who's very well known and connected in the industry, is making this claim, because Microsoft's not going to do this again. Jay the Gamer says that's a felony, likely not true. I don't know where your comma goes in that sentence. So what are you saying? What's likely not true? I'm telling you what the FTC news report said. I don't think you go to jail for it. That's ridiculous. But you do absolutely get hit with a fine for it. It's a real thing. But so I don't know. I mean, do you guys hear this? I mean, I know a lot of fanboys are like, yeah, it's totally true. I mean, people have accused me of fucking being a shill, which is ridiculous. Right? I'd be more than happy to take money. But, you know, no one's ever offered me any fucking money. Oh, okay. Andrew says he found us through Last Stand Media, and then YouTube suggested a video. Okay, got it. Cool, man. Well, welcome. Great to have you here, buddy. Jeeves says he wouldn't put it past someone like Colt Eastwood. I've only known Colt on his show, and he seemed to be a good dude. I have nothing against that guy at all. But it's not really Colt saying, yes, I'll do it. It's Microsoft saying, here, take the money. That's the issue. That's the people that would get hit with a fine. You couldn't pay $10K to talk good about Halo 5. Sure you could. Anybody could. I could talk good about anything. I mean, I wouldn't do it because it comes to the cost of your reputation. But Colt has several Phil Spencer posters hanging above his wife's bed. I'm sure that's true. I'm not saying they're not fans. But I don't have any evidence to suggest that this is actually happening. And I just wanted to bring it up because when I brought it up in the pre-show, I said to the people, is this even worth talking about? Because I don't think this is true. And Ricardo, correct me if I'm wrong, but everybody seemed to think maybe this was true. And I'm just kind of like, where are they getting this data from? Ricardo? I think we lost Ricardo.
I don't think it's data. I think it's.
I mean, you don't have any evidence of that from your experience, do you? Like, there's no proof of this. I've never seen anything like this.
I don't have any kind of evidence of that. I don't think it's impossible. I mean,
it's not impossible, but it's you know, you don't want to get hit with a fine.
There are companies that do this for a living.
What do you mean?
They generate discussion and narratives that with false accounts on social media.
They do, but doesn't that run afoul of the FTC regulations?
I have no idea.
Masochista says...
I can discuss the morality of it.
Masochista says these companies don't directly pay these people. They butter them up with goodies and shit that goes for everyone. IGN, GameSpot. Well, I mean, there is truth of that. I got to say, I'm so tired of seeing fanboys just come in their fucking panties because some fucking video game creator gave them the time of day. It's so gross. I mean, did you ever care, Ricardo, when you were covering this shit? Like, didn't you find that just kind of fanboy or girling out on these people just annoying?
Yeah, one of the things that annoyed me the most was when covering video games on a conference or whatever it was, and journalists all just clap when a game is presented or something, and get all yeah, woohoo! I mean, I never saw any sports journalists clapping when a player is being introduced or something. I
Yep.
mean, it just seems weird to me.
Right, right. I do that every stream, Jaffe, because you are interacting with us. You do what every? Shut up. Yeah, that's different though. You're not. If you're here, I assume you've been here a long time, Cyclone. I know you have. You're here because the show. I assume at this point, come on now. And I haven't been a relevant game creator for a very long time, very long time. Okay. All right, well, no one's seen any evidence of it. Maybe it's just bullshit. But it certainly got a lot of people riled up. Speaking of Colt Eastwood, here's Colt Eastwood's response. He says, I've been in this community for 10 years. I can assure you they're real people, and I've been fortunate to meet many of them. They're just fans. Yeah, I've never... can assure you we do not pay firms.
Oh, that's fans, for sure. True fans.
This is the director of Xbox marketing. He says, we don't pay firms to act as fans or run fake accounts. Yeah. So, I don't know. Influencers are a thing. Yeah, they are absolutely a thing. But they have to disclose it, right?
At least on YouTube.
Saturn Tubes, I don't even understand that. Saturn Tubes says, Jaffe, I'm not here for the show. I'm here because I've been around since 2013. I've always liked you. Well, aren't you bored then? If we're just talking about this shit and you're like, dude, I really don't care about what you're talking about. What, are you masturbating? What are you doing? What are you doing? All right, let's move on. Let's move on, shall we? Somebody was asking if we were going to talk about the games playing themselves. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. I don't remember. I think what it was, and it's not on the little dude's head, but we'll get to it. Some of you, Way the House as well. Some of us are masturbating. Oh, I believe it. Why would you not? But so somebody tweeted at me or something yesterday and said, do you think that games today just pretty much, unlike games in the past, play themselves? And he wasn't being literal. He wasn't suggesting that, I said, well, if they played themselves, it would be called a movie, right? So, but he's talking about like games like from Sony and single-player games that are really expensive being a lot less challenging and giving you hints to the point that they're almost solving puzzles and all that shit. So, and we started talking about that, and that kind of gave way to a conversation about strategy guides and walkthroughs and this idea that gamers seem to... I find the whole thing really distasteful. That you...
People want them.
I know, and you said that the biggest successes your magazine put out were tips and tricks and shit. And I'm like, why are you playing a game then? Why don't you go watch a fucking movie? Right? If you want to read a magazine or buy a strategy guide or do a walkthrough in order to get through the game, shame on you for coming at me and saying, I never finish games. Most y'all don't either if you have to use a fucking walkthrough to get through it.
To be fair, not so much nowadays, but back then there were a lot of secrets.
Oh, a secret, that's a little different, though. That's different. That's like, okay, if you want to find this crazy big head mode, okay, totally different. Totally different. But I'm talking about, here's the map for this particular cave in Elden Ring, and here's where you get here's where you get all the items, and here's this monster, and here's the best kit to take the monster out. At which point I'm like, what the fuck are you playing the game for? Right? Marvel Snap is no different. Marvel Snap I love, one of my favorite games of all time now. But how many people are rising in the leaderboard just because they've gone online. Like literally, let me show you this. Let me fucking show you this. I mean,
Same thing with Hearthstone using the cookie cutter.
Yeah, look at this
decks.
fucking thing. It's best not Hearthstone, best Marvel Snap decks July, right? I can literally go on. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Don't fucking call yourself a gamer if you do this shit.
It's annoying as fuck.
Because
it's Hearthstone and everyone plays the same decks.
Yeah, and it's like, why are you playing? You didn't build that deck. You didn't think about the synergy of that deck. You just decided to go online and go, I'm going to copy this deck, and I'm good.
It's a big part of the fun to actually build a deck.
Yes,
I
especially.
came up with this.
That's right. I figure this is part of the puzzle. It's part of the game. What way the Lao says we're wrong on this? What are you talking about? How are we wrong? I'm not gatekeeping Bacon Magma the way people play games. I'm saying you have a right to do whatever the fuck you want to do. But don't come at me and tell me that you're more of a gamer because you finish games you play, when in reality, if it wasn't for a strategy guide or a walkthrough, you wouldn't have finished them. And that doesn't mean, look, a good game will lead you down the path to a good time, right? If it's a bad game and you get stuck to the point that you quit it, then that's a problem with the game. If a lot of people are quitting at the same moment, they did a bad job. But short of that, the game is there to be played.
And look, we have a visitor.
What do you mean we have a visitor? Oh, hey, it's Bookster. What's up, Bookster? How you doing, man?
Pretty good, you?
Well, you know, I'm mad. I'm in a mad mood today because I don't like these people who build their decks and build their fucking Diablo loadout. It's like, build your own fucking loadout.
Well,
Build your own. Play Diablo a little bit and then go, you know what armor works for me? This armor. I'm fighting a spider monster. Let me go to the internet and see exactly what I need to become so I can conform and be like everyone else because I like winning more than I like actually doing. I fucking hate it, Bookster.
So my question there, though, is you have a esports coach.
I do.
And they're, like, teaching you how to be better at games. What's the difference, like, from a multiplayer aspect? Because everyone in multiplayer games, there's usually, like, a meta for it, and you have the same strategy. So how's that any different?
It's very different.
Going up and look.
Because the person...
tips and tricks, though.
No, well, the person I'm working with is a sports psychologist, right? He's not like a Call of Duty expert who says, okay, you're now playing the lighthouse map, and this corner right here is really where you want to plant and mount your gun because there's 8 ways people could be coming, but with the field of view on the console version, you're able to see 6 of those all at the same time, right? That's not what he does. It's about when you get stressed in a difficult moment of any game, you probably start holding your breath. Well, when you start holding your breath, here's what happens to your reflexes. So start to train your brain to learn when you're fighting a particular difficult boss in a single-player game or you're in a really challenging part of a multiplayer game, and learn to recognize those moments so you can breathe and settle and stay focused. That's just simply training as it relates to sort of how to stay engaged with the product, right? Or even if we were going to get more specific, if I went to a Marvel Snap expert, I don't want them to build me a deck, but I would want them to say, let's go through all of the cards and let's talk about how cards can have synergy with one another. And let's talk about how when you build your own deck, if you pick this card, it's really cool, but you need these other 2 things to occur before this card really reaches its full potential. I want you, Jaffe, who I'm training, to recognize these opportunities and frequency of opportunities and then use that knowledge as one of the things you use to build your decks. That's teaching you how to play the game. That's not telling you, here's the cheat code. You understand the difference?
Yeah, I had a misunderstanding. I thought you had an esports coach who was just coaching you specifically through a specific game.
No,
he's the mechanics and using. Okay.
He's an esports coach, but his focus is on sports psychology. He's not like Ninja looking to make an extra buck. And he's like, I played a lot of this. Let me tell you the tips and tricks. No, it's that's why I'm interested. So, all right.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. Thanks, Bookster. I appreciate it. Aegon the Unlucky, thanks, man,
Bye.
has decided to pony up and join the Diet Soda Soldiers, baby. Here you go. Oh.
Go suck a big fucking dick.
Now, that's not for you, Aegon the Unlikely. I was gifting you that soundbite, so when anyone says something mean to you, you can say that to them. Thank you, buddy, for having faith in the channel and the chat and the community. Love having you here, buddy. Thank you, Aegon. Welcome. All right, let me get some of these comments. I disagree, says Jacob. I use strategy guys to find stuff like packages, speedrun, find stuff developers didn't implement well. Okay, again, if you're speedrunning and that's your goal, fine. Sure, I get that. If you're finding stuff because the game is poorly made and you still want to play it, I get that as well. But you know, if you're playing a game like, let's just take Grand Theft Auto. You know, I don't know what 5 does. It's been a while. I don't remember if it's bags of cocaine or whatever. But there's like 100 bags of cocaine in the fucking thing. You know, if you have to go to a strategy guide to find where the last 4 are, you're robbing yourself of what the actual game is, because the fun is supposed to be getting stuck and going, I don't know where to look. Right? That's part of the fucking fun. Now, Elden Ring, gets a little bit of a pass because the designer has said, Miyazaki has said, I have made this really hard to get your head around all of it. And so I like the idea. I think his story was somebody helped him change a flat tire. And he was like, that's really cool when a stranger helps you out. I like the idea of building a game that really you can get more out of when people start sharing. I think that's cool. But there's a difference between that and buying a book and just going, here's how you do this, that, and the other.
There's something about From Software games in the sense that people, they rave about how hard they are and the challenge is so awesome, etc. But everyone is always looking for some kind of exploit. How to exploit the bosses, how to exploit the experience system, how to exploit armors that you are not supposed to get that soon.
I wonder if it's a cultural thing. I wonder if that's more American or more Western. I don't know if it is. Probably not. But it just feels so wrong. It's like, you know, why would you want to do that? Bookster says, I don't know about that. I hate the checklist thing of go find this item all over the map. In particular, GTA, I think the fun is buying cool items like flying cars. Yeah, then don't do that. Just don't go look for the things if you don't want to do that part of the game. That's fine. What about calling the hint lines? I mean, you know, I never did it. The games back then were a little bit more confusing in some ways, but it's a slippery slope. It's a fucking slippery fucking slope. That's what I would say. Mick Doe has a good point. Yeah, play your first playthrough blind, but looking at guides for things on follow-up is cool. I agree. But that's not what I'm talking about, right? Even like I said, the card one is a really bad one, or the Diablo one's a really bad one. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. Dark Souls people were into cheese strategies and trivializing most combat by running past it or parrying. I'm just looking at the chat. Jaffe, how the fuck would anyone have found the hidden message in God of War? Your job was not to find the hidden message if you didn't want to, Jacob. Jacob says no one was spending 10 minutes of hitting a statue. Cool. It wasn't meant for everyone. It was meant as a reward for the person who was like, I'm curious. This is weird. Let me fuck around with this. Oh, shit, it paid off. That's why it's there. If you got the secret message because somebody told you the number, then you don't fucking deserve it. You don't fucking deserve it. That's the truth. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Godslayer says, I spent time to kill the statue. Right, you deserved it. You know. All right, let's move on, though. Ricardo, let's move on. I think it's time we fucking moved on. All right. Ricardo hasn't given me any timestamps on this thing yet. I'm like, Ricardo, are we doing okay? Let's talk about games that Sony turned down. These are third-party games and first-party games that we were developing that were either canceled or people brought to us. And we said, well, we don't want to publish that. Sometimes we were right. And sometimes Sometimes we were wrong. Cosmic Bandito says, wait, you mean you don't get the secret message by playing the mini sex game? God, the hours wasted. Right. Bacon Magma says, if somebody doesn't know what to do and they are stuck for too long, it gets boring. A simple search on YouTube is perfect. You don't understand what I'm saying, maybe. I blame the developer in that case, right? If the developer, I'll give you a really fast example, Bacon, because it does merit discussing. Then we'll move on to these canceled games and stuff. So we had a puzzle in the first God of War, and if you played it and you got to Poseidon's section of the Pandora's Temple, you may remember it. You get to this room and there's water in the center and there's a ledge on the other side. So you can't get there. If you pull a lever, though, a platform rises up from the water. You can go over on the platform, get to the other side, and there's a treasure chest or something. But you can't get back out of the room. There's no way to get out of the room. And so it's a puzzle, right? Well, we watch focus testers spend anywhere from like 10 to 40 minutes going, what the fuck? And then ultimately they got it. They realized, oh my God, if I actually pull the platform up and then get in the water and swim underneath it, there's an opening that gets you into a tube that gets you out of the room, right? And that would never fly in a game today, okay? It would in a big budget game, because it would be the focus testers and marketing would probably see the player go, oh my God, he's taking more than 5 minutes. We have to fix it. We have to play a sound cue or have a camera or this or that or the other. And that's fine. I mean, I understand why they do that with the budgets. I'm not saying that's wrong. You probably need to do that because a lot of people would have quit the game. But ultimately, though, if it is not something that's designed to be challenging, but most people eventually solve it, sure, you should use a guide. But the issue there isn't the guide. The issue there is the game's poorly designed. That's honestly one of the reasons people got mad at me when I was talking about Metroid Dread. It wasn't that I said Metroid Dread was a terrible game, but it showed me the kind of game it was in terms of what they were willing to do and not do to help the player. And I was like, yeah, I'm out. I'm totally out. All right, let's talk about Sony games that you may have heard of, you may not have heard of, that were never allowed to see the light of day, at least with a Sony sticker on them. Driver's the one that hit me first. I remember going into Kelly Flock at the time, his office. He ran 989, SISA, whatever. And he says, hey, play this fucking game. Take this home for the weekend. Play the game. Let me know what you think. And I played it, and I came back, and I'm not saying Kelly listened to me only, and I was the one who kept Sony from having Driver. But I came back and I said, well, this is shitty because I like the idea of the game, but everybody, you're just running from the police, which means all the action's happening in a sliver of the screen in a little rear view mirror. And I was like, yeah, that's not for me. No one's going to want to do that, I said. Well, I don't know if Kelly just listened to me or a bunch of other people, but ultimately we turned it down, and it went on to be a huge hit of that era. By the way, to respond to in the chat real quick, Dilly D, so you just dislike Metroidvanias? No, because every game in the genre is like that. No, it's not. It just simply isn't. I can talk. Save it for the end. If you really want to, relitigate Metroid Dread, we can. But I'm going to move on for now. But no, I'm a big fan of Metroidvania, which is one of the reasons it pissed me off so much. In Saturn Tubes, you're simply wrong, but we can talk about it at the end. Okay. Oh, hey, come on back. Come on back there. All right. This game we should have turned down. Now, you might know this. I'm going to be putting on the screen. This is called Tattoo Assassins.
Sorry, Jeffrey. Can you look at Skype, please?
Yeah, no, I can totally talk. Ricardo's asking me, he's like, Jaffe, can you talk about this? There's no NDA. Let me explain something to you guys. I got into Sony in 1993. 2, 3, whatever. I never had to sign a contract for anything. So when people talk about it, it's like, don't you have a contract about this? No, there's nothing I ever had to sign. So I can talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about. I mean, later
Nice.
when they funded our companies, we had to sign things, but that was like, okay, when you're working for Sony, you can't disparage the company or something like that. And I wouldn't have anyway, All right. So this is a game called Tattoo Assassins. It's terrible. It was inspired by Mortal Kombat. The funny part about this game,
Inspired, huh?
well, watch this. This is she's based on Nancy Kerrigan, right? She's kind of like the ice skater girl from the 90s or whatever. And watch this. She's got a little toot action coming up. Look at her farting in the guy's face. And it's just terrible. And you may not know this, but the guy who spearheaded this game was Bob Gale, who was the co-writer and co-producer of all the Back to the Future movies. And so we were like, holy shit, the Back to the Future guy, because we were Sony ImageSoft at the time, and they brought in the arcade cabinet, and they said, hey, do you guys want to have this cabinet and play it with your guys for a couple of weeks, and then tell us if controller's board says this looks awesome. Do you guys want to play it for a couple weeks? Then let's have a meeting and see if you guys want to do the home
Can you
port.
imagine being that actress? And they say, no, make it as if you're...
I don't know.
farting.
It's really
The
bad.
guy's face.
The best part
Jesus.
was the QA guys were going around. They don't show it in this video, but the high concept of this is they all have these magical tattoos, and I guess the tattoos can come to life or some such shit. And if you get killed by a tattoo, there's like this very Mortal Kombat ripoff voice that goes, tattooed. And the testers were walking through the office all the time just going, tattooed. It was
Tattooed.
it was great. It was great. But we turned this down, and I was really glad. And these are all up on the internet, and you can enjoy them at your leisure. It's just terrible. Okay, so we turned that down. That was a smart turn down. This was a dumb turn down. This game, I want to say, and I talked to Mike Arkin, who was a producer. I interviewed him on this show, and I want to say he said we had the opportunity to get this game, and which is called Metal Warriors, but at the time I think it was called like something Battle Droids. We had the opportunity to publish this and Zombies Ate My Neighbors, because both of these were from Lucas Games, if I remember, or at least somehow affiliated. And this was the best multiplayer Super Nintendo game I'd ever played. It was split screen. You were a little teeny tiny dude. If you look at the screen right here, these are the big mechs. But when you got out of your mech and you could get into lots of different vehicles and shit, you could run around. And you were, I'm going to have to zoom in, but I mean, you were like, if this is your mech, you were like this small, as small as the magnifying glass. And you had like a jetpack and all of this shit. It was awesome. Konami eventually ended up publishing it. And it's a great pickup if you're a collector or if you plug up your SNES and actually play split screen still. It's really fucking good. I don't know why we chose not to publish this. Because all of us who played it, when they put it in front of us and said, hey man, do you guys like it? We were all like, this is the best fucking thing we've ever fucking seen. But Sony said no. Sony also said no. I had a friend who worked over at, what were they called? Who are the guys who make Power Rangers? Is it Bandai? He worked over there in their TV department. And we went to a 4th of July party. I'm not name dropping. I don't know these people, but it was at a very famous Saban. That's right, Saturn Tubes. It was a very famous movie producer named Brian Grazer. And that's where Tom Hanks was there. Meg Ryan was there. Dennis Quaid was there. All these fucking fans. It was the craziest thing I'd ever been to in my life since and before. But anyway, he says, hey, Jaffe, take these videos. Check them out. It's this new show called Power Rangers. And I watched them, and I said, this is horribly wonderful. It's like this is a mix between Saved by the Bell and Godzilla. So I took it to Sony because they were looking for someone to make a game. And I said, we got to do this. And they're like, yeah, no, this is stupid. And not more than 3 months later, it was the biggest fucking thing going on. So we turned that down too. But I mean, Sony probably has the same batting average as every other company. You never fucking know. what's going to fucking hit. We didn't just turn this down. This started 6 Days in Fallujah, which is still, I think Rob the Mod got a copy of it, but this is out now in early access. It's just all the multiplayer stuff. It's very early, but we were producing this for a while, and then somewhere along the lines, it wasn't internally produced. Somewhere along the lines, I want to say maybe it was upper management or something, said, just cut this loose. I don't know if it's because development wasn't going well or if they thought it was going to become too controversial, but 6 Days could have been a Sony PS exclusive at the time it was designed to be. Similarly, this game, I can't even find a screenshot of this game, right? This thing was crazy. This was a game by a really good producer named Holly Herzl, I think is how you pronounce her name. And she had the idea of doing bobblehead historical figures. And it was a Super Smash Brother game, but it was it's more like Power Stone, right? Because it was like 3D. And you had presidents and you had historical figures that weren't presidents, but they were like political figures. And they beat the fuck out of each other. And it was like, it was very... at the time it was like Clinton was running against, I don't fucking know, but it was like, he was doing his sound bites and, Reagan was doing his crazy sound bites. And I think Bill Clinton could pull like a Monica Lewinsky secret attack and all this shit, put the enemy in a blue dress and everything. But it was fun and it was developed. I think we got past alpha with it. And ultimately I think it was Kaz Hirai. It's like, were you not aware? Because ultimately he saw it and said, yeah, we're not publishing that. And it was killed. It was killed. And I'm like, you guys got to alpha and didn't know upper management wasn't interested? Because it was genuinely good. I'm surprised the developer, whoever they were, I forgot, didn't take it and run off and just reskin it and make it something else. But it was really, really good. Ravno says Xbox would not buy Spider-Man because Xbox is not a movie production company. I heard they didn't want it, but I've said this before and I can't go into details. This is one of the things I'm not under NDA, but I won't talk about. I was staggered when I learned that Sony itself had no interest in Spider-Man. Some of the people did. Executives did, but a lot of the executives were like, no, why do we want that? And maybe it's because they were used to all the kind of average Spider-Man games like Web of Destiny, which I liked, but it wasn't some mega bestseller. Maybe they were thinking of it like that. I don't know, but thank God they ended up making it because Miles' best superhero game ever and normal Spider-Man #1 is pretty fucking good too. What's this one? Let's see. L.A. Noire. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I wanted to fucking cancel L.A. Noire before it probably had any code written. This was funded by Sony Santa Monica for a long time. And here's the reason I wanted to cancel it, right? I mean, it wasn't my...
But while being done by Rockstar?
No. So Brennan McNamara, who directed it, had done The Getaway, if I remember, right? And this was his new game. And for some reason, Sony Europe didn't want to work with him or didn't want to make this game. I don't fucking know why, but he found himself in Santa Monica with Alan Becker and everyone, and Alan was like, okay, yeah, we'll greenlight your game. And I'm like, cool. I love, he was clearly very inspired by LA Confidential, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, great. And then he's like, spent, I don't know how many months. I'm sure I'm exaggerating the amount of months, but it was like he spent 6 months coming to LA and doing what he was calling white papers on LA in the 30s. Like it's like, dude, you're not James Cameron making Titanic. No one is going to notice if the fucking texture on the wallpaper of a hotel that was actually there in 1932 is the actual texture of the wallpaper type. I mean, it was just sort of, ego masturbation. And I was just like, I don't know if the game's going to be any good or not, but with this guy leading it, I'm worried that it's just going to be this black hole of fucking wasted money. And so, but again, I moved on. I was doing other things. It wasn't like I was involved in this game. But every time I saw it and I was asked by my bosses, what do you think? I'm like, I don't know what the game is still. What is this fucking thing? And eventually enough people at Sony must have thought the same thing and moved on. And eventually Rockstar picked it up. Apparently it was a very difficult game to work on. And then I know McNamara, who I've never met, but I hear he's very challenging to work with, which is not a bad thing or a good thing. I don't know how he personifies that, but he was doing a game with the name Whore of the Orient, which I just thought was a great game that would have been changed, but a great title. But that apparently he was hit with a lot of accusations of abuse and toxicity and whatnot, and the whole thing kind of got shut down. L.A. Noire turned out to be a pretty cool game, says Last Line. Yeah, a lot of people liked it, but I could see where Jaffe was coming from with how anal the dude sounded. I mean, I appreciate that level of passion. I wasn't like mocking the guy, but I was sort of questioning, why isn't there anybody on the team that's going, okay, Brendan, this is too much. It's like, I get what you're doing, but let's play our cards strategically. Let's pick our battles. Does it really matter if it's the wallpaper? Does it really matter? Do we need to spend $1 million for that? I don't understand. Anyway, so that was another one we turned down.
Was it PS3 for the time?
I want to say it was PS3, but I don't. I'm almost certain. Demon Souls is probably the most famous that Sony turned down. This was Shuei. Again, Shuei is one of the smartest. I just love this guy. I'm not saying Shu loves me.
Demon Souls?
Yeah, the first one. I'm not saying Shu doesn't love me. I'm saying Shu's so hard to read.
They turned it down. They didn't.
Yeah, they did. I'll tell you a story.
Demon Souls.
Oh, okay, I'm wrong. Let's move on. Ricardo says I'm wrong. Demon Souls was turned down. It got picked up by Atlas in America, and I forget who published it in Europe. But they did turn it down in America. Shuhei said, I don't think anyone's going to fucking play it. Go look it up. Gavin says, who is it, Sony? Wait. Gavin says facts, Dave. Gavin, are you telling me I'm saying it's a fact, or what Ricardo is saying it's a fact? Yeah, look it up.
The game was published by Atlas in the US.
And who published it in Europe?
Bandai in
Right.
Europe.
Right. So, and look it up. Shu turned it down, and he says that he regrets turning it down. So, but regardless, though,
Isn't the license at Sony?
I don't know anymore. I think it was From Software owns the rights to it, and so they did the deal with From Software. Gavin, you need to come on my goddamn show, buddy. Gavin's producer. He says, I'm agreeing with you, Jaffe. I was in those meetings. He's a producer over in the UK that used to work for Sony. Gavin, where are you working now? Are you still doing games? But
I know From Software had to change from Demon Souls to Dark Souls.
Well, just trust me. It's true. I mean, you can look. That's something Trump would say. Just trust me. Just trust me.
How dare you?
But it is true. Look it up. But the bigger point, though, is that, look, I don't think a lot of people would not have made the decision Shu made. I think it was a correct decision at the time because it was so weird that nobody knew what the fuck kind of thing it was, I imagine. But now, I mean, can you imagine if the Souls series had become a first party exclusive title? Can you imagine? I mean, my God. I mean, it still mostly was, but still, pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. But no, Shu, I was just saying, Shu is one of the smartest guys in the business. I hate, and I wanted to say I hate how they've treated Shu at Sony. I don't know if they've treated Shu badly. I just think that it's weird he doesn't have more influence at this point, given how good he is. But everybody, everybody would have missed it. Certainly Shu did, and you can't really fucking blame him for it, but, it is what it is. Okay. American McGee's Oz, we turned down. That came to us. American came into the office. I had never met him before. I was like, oh, cool, I've heard of this guy. I played a little bit of Alice. And he gave us a demo, and we played it a little bit. I think we had already done God of War at the point, and I don't remember why we turned it down other than to say maybe it wasn't bad. Maybe we just kind of felt that we perhaps had too many games like this with Medieval and Mark of Cree and God of War. I don't remember. Or maybe, the tech guys did due diligence and said, yeah, they're not going to be able to pull off what they want. I don't know why, but I did see a demo of this, and I like the guy's imagination. I always have, and so that was another one we turned down, American McGee's Oz. This game, it's not Tornado Outbreak. This was the one that blew my fucking mind, right? This was not this game, but the first time I ever saw a video game, which is now very tropey, and there's tons of cell phone games, blah, 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 where you played a tornado and you were going around picking up trailer parks and throwing them around and people and buildings. It was awesome. It was a PS1 game. And I think it was called Tornado Alley, if I remember. And I don't know. I need to find out one day why it was that we never continued past the pre-alpha stage on this. But it wasn't Tornado Outbreak. But it was really fucking cool. So that was a game we turned down as well. I don't have much information other than to tell you I was absolutely fucking stunned that we turned that game down. This game, and this is what I always talk about real quick with Xbox, all the failures that Xbox is going through right now, first party. The problem with Xbox is they're too big at this point to be failing at the level like a bunch of beginners when it comes to production, which is what they clearly are. But this is a game, The Diabolical Adventures of Tobu. This must have been in production at Sony Foster City for 3 or 4 years. And it was very Ghibli inspired, and you were this boy with these wings or Da Vinci wings. I don't fucking know. It was kind of like Mario 64 meets Panzer Dragoon, I guess, but it wasn't on a rail. And they just never really knew what the game was, and they were in production forever. And it kind of became this running joke. It's like, what the fuck is your game? It wasn't even that, like in the chat, Fupy says it was too early for artsy games. Kind of. I mean, remember Tale of the Sun? That came out for, but a lot of it was, honestly, if Sony knew then what they know now, or if Xbox knew now what they will know if they stick with it, they would have gone before this was even greenlit.
Dude.
Yeah.
Sorry. As you are changing pictures, you are also changing topics.
Yeah, look at it. Well, this is new. This is a new little guy. But yeah, it is what it is. Okay, good point. But yeah, if they would have known, basically the point is now you don't go into Sony and say, I want to make a game, and the most junior executive will say, what do you do? What's the loop? What are the loops? What's the gameplay? Back then, and I think it's the same, it must be the same at Xbox. Now, all these rookie mistakes, shit like this was greenlit and allowed to stay in production forever. Psycho 5.0, we all know this. I don't know if you know the story. This was Santa Monica's game after Kinetica. I remember Shannon Studstill, the producer, called me. I was at jury duty. And she's like, hey, do you think it's bad we can't get out of the car? Because Grand Theft Auto had come out, the first Grand Theft Auto 3. And, suddenly everything changed. This was kind of like a Crazy Taxi with urban funk sensibilities, blah, blah, blah. But she's like, people on the team are starting to talk that, you can't get out of the car. Is this going to be viable? I says, I don't think so. I think the minute you have somebody in a car now, because of Grand Theft Auto and this kind of game, there's all these new expectations that have been set. And so eventually this got shut down as well. This was in production at Sony. Sorcery, I don't remember. I think this was a 3-year project in the 90s that was like a sword and sorcery game, blah, blah, blah. All right, you get the idea. So, you never, and there's probably been many since that time that have been turned down that I don't even know about. But it's amazing. It's fucking amazing. All right, fellas, let's move the little dude down to member QA. While you guys are thinking up whatever crazy questions you want to ask, I do want to show you one thing. This has nothing to do with video games, but it does have to do with geek shit. And I want to share it with you, and then we'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about for a little bit. So, I picked up a new iPad because I love comics, right? But I just, I don't want to buy physical comics anymore. They take up too much space. They just end up, I'm not a collector. I just like reading this shit. So I picked up a new iPad because I've been subbing to DC Universe Infinite. Not Infinite, DC Universe. They have a new thing called Infinite. This is basically Netflix for comics. The comics come out about 4 months after they hit retail, but if you pay more for Ultra, you get them, I think, like a week after or something. So this was like July 4th. You can already read it if you have Ultra. And then I also have Marvel Unlimited. And I started reading it. I picked up a new iPad. And I just want to say, if you like comics, yes, Greatest Hits was 1 million, if I remember. If you like reading the comics, and I know I saw Ricardo saying he was reading Batman comics today. If you like reading the comics, and you're a reader more than anything else, and you have an iPad or something, man, digital comics. Ricardo, do you read your comics digitally or no? Like, do you actually have real?
Yep. I spent $50 on Batman comics
I don't know if
yesterday.
you can see that. I mean, it's.
And I've been reading them on my phone, my laptop, and my iPad.
Oh wait, you bought them? You bought digital comics?
Yeah.
Why don't you just subscribe to one of the services?
Are not available outside the US.
Really? Okay. There's
Yeah.
one. Have you read Dark Knights of Steel? I just started reading that. It's
Dark
basically
Knights of Steel.
Dark Knights of Steel. It's Clark Kent or whatever. Clark Kent's parents and Kal-El, whatever,
Oh,
crash land, but it's in like a fantasy Tolkien environment. And so
I haven't, but I've heard it's awesome.
it's really cool. Batman is there and Flash is there, Green Arrow, but it's all like through the lens of D&D and shit. It's very fucking cool. It's very fucking cool. Understanding says, what's the best comic service to subscribe to? It depends on what you like. What I will tell you is Marvel Unlimited has this thing called Marvel Infinite Comics, Infinity Comics. And what is cool about those is if you just tend to read on your phone, which is terrible for normal comics, they've started doing old comics and brand new comics where it really is just they've repurposed them. So you still get the story, but it's a vertical scroll. So it's actually fun to read on your phone now. It's not this like click it and you get a zoom in of a panel. But ultimately, it really depends. If you like indie comics, you should probably get Comixology. Has a service like Netflix, which is through Amazon. They do more of the dark. They have Marvel and DC, but they have more of the Dark Horse and Image and all that shit. If you like DC, go DC. And if you like Marvel, go Marvel. But thank you, NATO, for the super chat. He says...
It's comparable.
Is what comparable?
I feel that I consume comics faster digitally,
Me too.
and the story doesn't stick as much.
I
I
don't.
tend to forget the story more easier
I mean,
than
I look, man.
physical.
I would love to have the ability to have the physical because I love the tactile joy of it,
Yeah, same.
and possibly that does make the story stickier just at a pure physiological level of when you touch it and turn it and smell it, you remember it more. I don't know, but you know, I the effort of getting the comics and storing the comics and and the cost is absurd. To buy a single comic these days that you can read over the course of 8 minutes, it's like $6, $5. Fuck you. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Look at this super chat. NATO, thank you for the super chat, buddy, with the great Tron icon. He says, tell us, who did you get killed during jury duty? I had the most boring jury duty ever, man. It was something like these two women, not that it mattered that they were lesbians, but for some reason they chose to save that or hide that. And the prosecuting attorney or the defense attorney used it like a gotcha. like the jury in L.A. was supposed to go, oh my God, they're ladies, but they're having sex together. We're like, so, but they were suing their landlord who was fucking crazy and thought he saw the ghost of his friend called T-Bone, who was a jazz trombone player, and he was out of his fucking. It was all, and they burned him in effigy, and it was weird. But it was nice. It was nice, and but what it made me do is go. The jury process, it's better than nothing. But man, a lot of people who want good old T-Bone, says Peachy. Yeah. Good old, there were people who literally wanted to stay there because they were getting paid and because they didn't want to go back to their job. There were people who wanted to get back to their job. There were people who didn't care about their job, but they didn't have any real agency in their life. So suddenly they were enjoying that they could sort of have a seat at the table, literally. And so and I was just like, can we just fucking vote and use the information in the court and get on with our lives? But there was so much of an agenda that I kind of lost faith in it. I don't have a better idea. Okay. You want me to do a reaction to I'm not doing it now, but Watch Mojo's top 100 games of all time. Yeah, let me just go real quick and see what it looks like. Top 100 games, video games. Let's see. I will if it's fun. Maybe I'll do it when I'm high. I just got some dope today. I think I got dope today. Hey, Sarah.
Let me just.
You have my phone, right? Okay. Top, is it
Let me just say something really quick.
Okay, hang on though. Is it a video of Watch Mojo, or you mean literally just this list? Okay, go ahead, Ricardo. Sorry.
Ultra Awesome is telling us to Google read free comic books online.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've done that before.
But if I can, I prefer to support the things I really like, games, videos.
Me too.
Movies.
Me too.
Yeah, so that's why I rather just buy them. I want more comics.
Yeah.
Basically.
Cosmic says Osmongold went to jury duty. He told them on the form he could just tell people were guilty and which weren't. Here's the thing, though. I'm gonna swallow gum. Hang on. Here's the thing, though. I don't get picked for jury duty anymore, but not because I try to get out of it, but because I'm just fucking honest. And I'm like, when they say, is there anything that would prevent you from being impartial? I'm like, I write them and I say, look, I don't trust the judicial system in America. Is it for me? Hang on, fellas.
Okay, guys. Don't you guys want to ask Jaffe anything? It's your chance. This is basically a free talk, guys. Ask us anything you guys want to know about. God of War, Twisted Metal. What did he eat today? Next question.
Sorry, fellas, that's my dope delivery. I'll keep streaming, but I got to go get my dope. Ricardo, can you take the show in a couple seconds for a couple minutes?
Sure.
Okay, Jaffe, if you watch our top 100, I'll be more than happy to be put on trial. Well, but where is it? Like, I'm looking at the top 100. Is it a video? Like, what is it? This or is it a list? Right? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Read more. Watch video. Yeah. Okay, if you send me the video, maybe I'll smoke some dope. I'll make a separate video. I'll smoke some dope and we'll watch the top 100, or maybe later tonight or tomorrow. I have a birthday party to go to tonight, but But yeah, I don't know where to click. Like, I can't click this.
Ooh, whose birthday party?
My kids.
Okay.
Now you feel stupid, right? Oh, it's on YouTube. Okay, okay. Yeah, I gotta go get my. Oh, fuck you. You know. Oh God, Ricardo, I need to be able to turn the chat on and off because these trolls who like to get me riled up. I just, it's tough because I'm always looking at the chat, man. Okay, hang on. I'm getting my dope money.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Ricardo, you got the chat for a minute. I'm going to run and get the dope, and I'll be right back.
Can you put me on screen or something?
Yes. One moment.
I mean,
If you really think people want to see that. All right, it sounds terrible. I'm going to take you off screen. Yeah, that it was fucking with the sound, so sorry.
yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
you're on. I'll be back in a sec.
Okay, guys, shoot. What do you guys want to talk about? Adult-only games on console. Yeah, why not? What's your favorite food? Spaghetti, basically. I'm way too loud right now. No, there's no news on God of War, man. I haven't heard anything. Yeah, thanks, guys, for the support. I mean, I'm gonna kind of explain. The thing is, I'm still at my day job, so to speak, my real job. So we are still trying to figure out if this is something we can do both. Of course, obviously, he's doing this full time. We're just seeing if this is something that I could do full time with him. And if so, the idea is to improve this a lot. I mean, Jaffe has a lot to offer. That's why we are all here. But I think there's a lot of cool shit we could do with the members. Be a bit more on time. There's a lot of cool stuff that I think we could do if we could both go at this at full time, basically. Let's see how it goes. I appreciate the feedback, Saturn. I'll keep that in mind. I must go a beard. My wife won't let me, basically. I cannot interview Jason Schreier. He blocked me. The guy blocked me because I liked a comment from Jaffe. I suppose he blocked everyone that liked that comment. It wasn't personal to me. My favorite home console, the PS5.
All right.
Yeah, we kind of want to have one show per day, for sure.
Aim to have one show per day. What are you guys talking about? Look, I have dope. What are they asking you, Ricardo? Don't let them, push you around.
All kinds of crazy shit.
Okay.
Portugal's economic situation. Well, I live in Portugal, but I work for an American company, and I work for Jaffe, who is also American. So that kind of tells you a lot.
What are they saying? What do they want?
I have to work outside.
What do these people want? They want a show a day?
Yeah, they want the show day.
We can't do the show a day because we don't have enough content, right? We don't have enough. It's not planned, right? We're trying to make the show better.
we can do something every day, not just regular Gabbin Games.
Yeah, we
That's the option.
fuck you, Rob the Mod. We can. I mean, we do the show every day. During the week, if you're a member, you get the pre-show on the days.
Yeah.
A lot of people are upset about the drug talk. Who's talking about drugs? I got nothing to say about God. The last thing you want to do, God Slayer, is come to this channel because you think I'm going to sit around talking God of War all day. No offense. I mean, I appreciate that, but I don't have enough to say about it. You know, I like edibles, Andrew, and I like whatever this is, like a disposable thing, like from Stitzy or whatever. I saw a post that Days Gone was going to have a show, and they're not considering Sam Witwer for the main role. Why do you think this is? Well, first off, I'm surprised they're going to have a show, but I don't know him that well. I know he was in the thing for the membership, by the way, Dano Jones, for 32 months, man, crazy. I know he played Deacon in the game, and I know him from Supergirl, and I liked him in Supergirl, probably because though they want somebody who's got a bigger name than him. He's just not that big yet. Fuck you, Fupy. We don't need a show in Oregon about zombies. Yeah. Jaffe, how often you play VR games? Very rarely. I play, I do this kind of racquetball game I like a lot for exercise, but I don't do it clearly as much as I should. But I don't, you know, I did see that MetaQuest is starting a subscription program like PS Plus. And it's like $8 a month, and you get 2 games every month. I might do that because one of the reasons I don't play a lot of the VR stuff is honestly, I don't know how good the games are, and it's really hard to know. You know, do you want to drop $30 on a game you've never actually played? That's kind of the reason that I'm a little hesitant to play a lot. Hang on, I'm trying to get this working. 1 second. Ricardo says, fix the faith. Okay, done. There it is. Aegon, hey buddy, he says, not to blow smoke up your butthole, but that last Constellation episode was in my top 5 last stand. You and Colin are a killer duo. You know what's really weird? Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I love going on their show. It's a lot of fun. I struggle, though, because that's one of the things I was talking to Ricardo about, and one of the reasons I'm like, let's move as much of the chat to the end of the show, is that I get better reviews when I go on Colin's stuff, which says probably more to Colin than me, than my own stuff, right? People are like, oh my God, I love Jaffe on those shows. But a lot of times it doesn't translate into them coming here. And so I was talking to Ricardo about it, and he was saying, you're able to be more reined in on those shows. You're able to stay on topic. And so we're trying to get to a cadence with this show where I only look at the chat in between stories. And I haven't quite gotten it down because my ADD. And I'm like, I really need to take the chat and move it off the screen when I'm not looking at the chat. Because when something comes up or Rob posts something and I'm like, oh, what's Rob? Oh, it just gets me, lost in the ether. Bad Robo says, have you played RE8 in VR? No, I've played...
It's Rob's fault.
Yeah, I played RE7 in VR, which was great, which is fucking great. So I don't think we get rid of the trolls. I think I just need to not look at the chat as much. And it's just hard for me to do that, because it's like... Mitch, I agree, it's fun. Let's say something. I don't want to get into inside baseball with the show. I mean, I hear you, and it's something we're working on. I'll just say that. Not because I'm like trying to keep it secret, but what's the point? It'll work or it won't work. I have to second that. Constellation is one of my favorites. I'm curious, what did you like so much about that Constellation episode? I mean, I enjoyed it as well, but what was it that you enjoyed? That would be great for me to know. Hey, there you go, Rob the Mod. He's like, I'm working on my game. Rob's game, I don't know when it's ever coming out, but every time he sends me something from it, it looks really cool. Jaffe, do you see a future PlayStation launcher on PC so you can carry games, trophies, etc.? I don't see why not. I mean, I don't know anything about that, but it certainly seems, since a lot of the games do run on PC now, it seems like a nice thing. Ultra Awesome, I don't want to not do the chat. He says, I think your interaction with the chat is what makes your show stand out. I don't want to not do the chat, but I want to be able to sort of, here's what I don't like is when I do a topic, right, and I'm listening to the show after, because it's called like air check or whatever, I'll listen to it in the car just to go, okay, what does this sound like if you're listening to the show later? And a lot of times it's good, and then I'll get derailed, and if you're not part of the live show, it's like, Jesus Christ, man. Get back to what you were saying. I was listening. Drawing an audience, that's the issue, says I don't know what he's talking about. It was a genuine, raw conversation. That's what you do best, and you're able to get it out of Colin. Yeah, I like talking to people. Absolutely. The reality topic on that show was super interesting, says Jason. I've had thoughts about concepts you're talking about. I think a lot of people think about those things. I think if you're a self-aware person, and I think it's true. I mean, I don't think it's I'm not walking around like I know what's going on, but I think anybody who, anybody who believes what you see is what you get in this universe, I think is in a pretty hefty land of denial, is what I would say. Because it's clear this is a, I mean, literally it's clear. Scientifically it's clear, at least according to some scientists, some physicists, that this is a simulation. I mean, we know it's a simulation. I don't mean like Elon Musk. I mean, it is a simulated experience even through our own eyes. Because what we're seeing, if nothing else, is a couple...
On a construct.
Yeah, it's a couple of milliseconds behind real time anyway. You seem to keep Colin on his toes. You know what's interesting about that? I've heard a lot of people say that, but I don't go out of my way to do it, and I don't listen to a lot of other people's content, so I don't know. People are like, Jaffe's the only one that ever challenges Colin, and I'm like, I don't feel like I'm challenging Colin. I feel like we're just having conversations about things that we're passionate about. Andrea Renee never responded to me, Ben. No. We do still do game nights, Dano Genesis, but we're trying to do... I mentioned this a couple days ago. Ricardo brought up a really good point, which is we need to get them a little bit more organized because they kind of collapse into pandemonium, and I want them to feel like things that if you're a member of the channel that you actually can, it's like, oh, this is fun. I get a good I get a good benefit from one of the benefits from being a member. So Jason is saying on the Colin shows, Dustin and Chris challenge him all the time. You're just having a good conversation. Yeah, that's what I think. I would love to do that, Ultra Awesome. I would love to get like a sex worker who's a gamer, if she would be willing to talk about both. I think that would be fantastic. Cannot Blessin, how do you become a member? If you go now, if you're on your iPhone, you can't do it in the YouTube app. You have to actually go to Safari because Google doesn't want to pay Apple their 30% cut. But if you go on the browser and you go to About This Video, there's a link to all the information down there. Okay. Can we get Todd Howard? A lot of these guys will not come on. I haven't reached out to Todd Howard, but a lot of these guys have even said to me, I would love. Yeah, Ricardo's yawning. I'm like, yeah. Granted, it's like 1 a.m, but I'm like, you know what? There's a mute button for a reason. This show's great. The producer's like falling asleep. Oh God. Well, thanks, Cannot. I appreciate it. We might have a new member in good sir Cannot Blessin. Thanks, buddy. But a lot of them have said, hey, I'd love to come on, but I've talked to Ed Boon. I've talked to people at Sony. I talked to Ken Levine. He's just like, yeah, but you might ask things that the PR people, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be fucking honest with you. I'll be honest with you. Hang on. I'm reading this chat. What is Death Saw talking about with Saturn tubes? Saturn tubes is so opinionated about everything. Is that? I mean, that's okay. Nothing wrong with having an opinion. Just yeah. No one wants to come on JW because
I can't help but be racist.
that's true.
It's true.
But a lot of it is, I think,
But we do want to reach out to more people.
we want to reach out to more people, but I genuinely want interesting people. I want people on the show that I actually want to talk to. I'm not interested in just like, oh, so tell us about your game. If I had,
we don't want anyone promoting their stuff.
I don't care if they're promoting their stuff, but I want to be interested. I'm not really interested in, like, if Ken Levine's PR people say he can come on, but I would want to ask Ken Levine questions that I'm genuinely curious about. I would want to know about, how his depression that he's been public about affects his game design and his writing. I would want to know, I believe him and his wife do not have kids. I'd want to talk about that. It's like, are the games that you've made your kids? Do you regret it? Would you have been as successful if you would have had kids? That's the kind of shit I want to talk about because it's real. And I don't know if a lot of these PR people would allow that. Like, if I had Shuhei on, I would literally ask, what was that like when they told you were having less responsibility in first party? What do you think the reason was? Are you mad about it? And, do you ever think about going to another company? I mean, come on, they're not going to answer that. But I'd love to know. I'd love to know. Jaffe, what do you think about the statement that everything is deterministic? If everything started with the Big Bang and a pile of atoms, the physics can be predicted. You're right. 100%. I think from what I understand, which is very little, about the science behind the theory of determinism, whenever I hear someone smart, like can't remember, it may have been, is it Sam Harris or something, was on Lex Friedman's show and talking about determinism and free will. It makes sense that there's no free will, assuming that you believe that what you see is what is actually real. But yeah, I mean, I've said this many times that it kind of makes sense that you would, goodbye Dano, good to see you, buddy, that you would kind of look at a scenario and say, if everything is chemical, then you should be able to look at, if you have a big enough processor, be it a computer or your brain, and go, I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. It makes sense. It makes sense to me. I have not.
You gotta see Devs. It's about that, essentially. It's awesome.
Okay.
Devs.
Say that again slowly with your accent like Antonio Banderas.
Devs.
Just normal, man. Just innocent, man.
Bacon says, Jaffe, what do you think the initiative would be for Xbox to make Activision games backwards compatible? Probably not that much of one. Probably not that much one of an initiative. I think Xbox wants to stay away from anything with the word initiative even close. The proof of free will is the ability of people to commit suicide, which is very much against fundamental human instinct. I don't believe that. I don't even believe the thing where people say we're all about procreating and that's everything. I mean, really? I mean, Alexa, stop. That may be true. But even
I guess.
Even that, though, by the way, let's assume for the moment that it is all about procreation. Having someone who chooses to end their life doesn't mean that their chemicals didn't lead them that way. There can still be aberrations built into the chemical makeup that was there at the beginning, can't there? All right. We got Aliz X in the chat. How's it going, man?
Hey, Jaffe. How are you?
I'm very good. That's good. How are you?
Yeah, thanks. I'm good. Hey, Ricardo. I hope you're doing good as well. So,
Hey, dude,
Jeff,
what's up?
yeah, I actually had a question. The last time that we talked, I think it was like about 2 or 3 days after the Sony showcase, and we
Mm,
talked about Spider-Man 2,
mm.
and I wasn't really paying attention to the chat at the time, so I actually rewatched it like a week after, and it kind of opened up my eyes to something. So I've been observing just my friends and on the internet that I kind of feel like that people these days, it's like they accept whatever it is that is given to them no matter what. It's like, I remember specifically because I was kind of complaining to you about Spider-Man 2 and how it kind of looked last gen. And some people in the chat were like, oh, just some like Sony fans, like, dude, it's just great. And like, no, it's not. Like, the game doesn't look good. And the first thing about like a next gen console is that you're supposed to want to have next gen games. And I've been feeling
When
for
you
the
say
past like
when
couple
you
of
say next
years,
gen games, just to be clear, you're talking about the graphics mostly.
not just graphics, just the level design, the storytelling, just everything about it.
Okay.
And it seems like we just accept just the same shit, the same old shit, the same old shit, and it just keeps happening and happening and happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just the young generation of gamers kind of expect you to just to accept what's given to you. And I've been there probably from the not the beginning of the like gaming industry, but I've been there from, let's just say, Atari, Sega, PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4, and now PS5. So I strongly remember those days back, for example, in the generation of PS or Xbox 360, that we were bold. Like, we actually demanded stuff, and Sony and Microsoft listened to us. But these days, I feel like we don't have that voice anymore.
Well, I
I
mean,
really just,
I don't know how true that is. I think Sony and all these companies, especially the ones that are spending massive amount of money, are always listening. It may not be a direct connection between the gamer and the director of the game, but certainly marketing is testing the waters and getting a sense of what people are playing and asking for and talking about in social media. And so they're certainly listening to the gamers. I think to the point that, though, maybe what you're saying, because you're like me, we came from a generation where the only immersion that really happened was, are you immersed in the mechanics of the game? It wasn't like the world of adventure on the Atari could immerse you, beyond just sort of the game in your imagination. So our expectation, I think, is that gameplay and things need to be newer and fresher if it's coming from a first party. Like, I'm going to talk about that on a future show, but it was interesting the other day. I was talking about Helldivers, and someone's like, Jaffe, not every game needs to be blisteringly original. And I agree with that. But I think if you're first party and you're putting out something that's new, the onus is on them, and the expectation is proper for the audience to go, we hold you to a higher standard of showing us something we've not seen before, whether it's graphical, gameplay, narrative, whatever. And so I think when you see something like Helldivers, I like that Helldivers 2, I like that Sony's going for more of a meat and potatoes angle, but I think it needs a little of that Sony magic. Otherwise, it just looks like a Ubisoft game,
yeah, but so do you think it's more like about like the fans? Because let's just say, I really don't want to just get into the whole God of War thing, but the whole story of the Ragnarok and how it played, it was a really well designed game, just well put together. But let's say, so I think you're familiar with Captain Cuba on YouTube, right? I think you guys
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
had
yeah.
an interview. So the guy has made it clear that he doesn't like Ragnarok as a God of War game, but he really respects it, and he thinks that the game is really good as itself.
Okay.
But he feels the pressure to say this every single time in every video that, guys, I don't have anything against, let's just say, the creator of Ragnarok. I don't have anything against the God of War franchise, but the game is disappointing me, and he feels the pressure to actually express this. And this is just to me, it's really shocking, because back then, let's just say 5 or 10 years ago, we used to just ravish everything. We used to just say whatever the fuck that it is that we felt at the time. And nowadays, it's like we need to just tiptoe around some ideas.
I don't think everyone needs to do it. I think it has everything to do with the value, and in his case, he runs a pretty successful YouTube channel, the value in not losing an audience, right? So I think if it's and it may be one of the reasons my channel is where my channel is in terms of the pecking order of success, because I just don't have the patience or interest in placating people as much. And it's like, you know what, if you can't, and part of it is the person who's getting insulted, like Captain Cuba, or in the cases where it's happened to me, eventually you start to learn that most of it's trolling and the rest of it doesn't matter unless it's a very specific thing. And it's best to ignore it because it doesn't matter. But it's hard to do that. It's hard to get yourself in a mindset where, like, so for example, if I've been guilty of what you're saying he's doing. So if I were to say, I'll give you a great example, actually. Tears of the Kingdom. I love Tears of the Kingdom. One of the best games, probably the best game of the year, maybe. But I also think there are parts of the game that are visually very ugly. And the fact that I found myself, quote, under attack on the internet, I chose to engage with that. And so every time I talked about it, when that topic came up, I was like, okay, well, what I'm saying is I'm not saying it's ugly everywhere, but, I should have just been like, who cares? It'll blow over, and if not, big fucking deal. What do I care? But it's hard. This is a relatively new thing, this immediacy of response to your opinion that we're dealing with social media and the internet and all that. I think we just have to, we're trying to figure out how to adjust and how do we take it in. Like, I got a guy in the chat right now, Saturn Tubes. I should not be looking at Saturn Tubes because he's getting on my nerves today. Almost everything he's saying is either intentionally or unintentionally getting me annoyed because he's just very contrarian, and I find that really annoying, right? But what I should do, if I could get better at this job, is just go, just don't read his shit, but it takes time to adjust your brain to do that, right? So I guess that's my answer. It's not an easy road to hoe, I guess is what I would say. But you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And sometimes it's frustrating that people just don't listen. Like, I don't know how many more times I can explain the Metroid Dread thing, and I still see people online going, he thought it was too hard. And I'm like, yeah, no. Or when they say, but Jaffe, the game tells you what to do. I don't know how many times I can explain how they're missing the point. And then eventually you just give up and you go, who cares? The people who care that want to consume your shit will be there, and the rest is a waste of time. That's what I'd say. Thanks for calling, man. I appreciate it, buddy.
Yes, of course. And lastly, I just actually wanted to tell you something pretty quick. And I think your videos have been getting more views just because I was kind of reviewing the views of your videos for the past, let's just say 2 years, like 2 years ago, like 1 year ago, and was average. I think, are you like
stalking me?
No, I just wanted to see what the actual number was, and it was probably like 1,000, like 1.5K or like 2K at most.
Okay.
And now it's like 4K, 5K, 6K. So I think just hiring Ricardo has been pretty good, and I think it really makes all of us happy to see one of our favorite creators to have, as he just says it, one of the best things that he can do, which is just doing this whole YouTube thing rather than just creating games. But I have to say that we kind of miss you as like a game creator because you played such a big part in our lives. Maybe you did not know it because, I mean, who the fuck knows that maybe something that we're creating is going to affect people on another part of the world. So thank you very much for that, and I hope that you keep just doing this, you keep just improving, and yeah, that was everything I wanted to say. Peace out, dude.
Cool, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, buddy. That's very kind. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
thanks for the support, man.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
I will say what's interesting to me about that is and I get that it's very different on the surface what I'm doing. But it's really, this is more of what I was doing when I was making God of War and Twisted Metal than what I would be doing now making games. Because the freedom I have now is the freedom I had then. I can't get that really in games anymore, but I can get it here. And so while the expression of that sort of freedom, madness, chaos, whatever you want to call it, or just opinion is different, the way it's being expressed is different. The energy behind it and the desire behind it to entertain and engage is exactly the same. Exactly fucking the same. So, all right, fellas, that's a long show. We're going to wrap it up. I got a birthday party to get to. I will be back for sure on Tuesday with the Gabbin Games show. And then I'll be doing some stuff this week. I just got some fresh dope. Come on now, from MedMen who should sponsor us. Why don't we get any fucking sponsors, Ricardo? What the fuck? I want some cool sponsors like High Times and shit. What's the problem? Why don't they love me?
You can't hammer down anything.
What do you mean I can't hammer down anything?
Let's make a structure. Let's make intros. Then we can get sponsors.
Everybody hates you.
You know
and I'm
this.
glad your husband died.
That's all I'm saying.
Killed himself.
That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying. All right, fellas. I hear ya. I'm out. Ricardo, thank you for staying up late with us, doing the show, making the show happen. New members, welcome. Super chats, thank you. Old members, thank you guys very much. And new folks, come on now. Join up and let's smoke the... What? I don't know what I'm saying. Be well, everybody. I'll see you soon. Thank you, Ricardo. Bye, all.
Thanks, guys. Take care. See ya. Have fun.
Have fun? The fuck does that mean, Ricardo? Have fun doing what? Where did Ricardo go? Is he still here?
Anything.
Just have fun in general?
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to go do? What time is it where you are?
1 p.m.
1 p.m.?
1 a.m.
Oh.
I can't help but be racist.
Ah, there's Rob the Mod. How's the game going, Rob the Mod?
Going great.
Yeah?
It's
It's exciting. It's exciting.
When can we play it?
Yeah, when can we play it, motherfucker?
when it's ready to be tested.
God damn it. Son of a
Right?
bitch. Son of a bitch. All right. I should go, fellas. I'll see you later. Take it easy, everybody. Bye.
Yeah.
Hey.
See you guys. Take care.